What the fuck?
Ja. Das Ding ist, wir produzieren es halt auf mehreren Seiten. Also eben nicht nur in International, sondern auch in Deutschland.
Jetzt geht der Countdown richtig.
Das ist mir auf jeden
Fall. Übertragung unterbrochen, was ist hier los?
Das muss auf Countdown sein, ne?
Ja, ist auf Countdown, mal 1,28, aber dafür Übertragung unterbrochen. Good morning and welcome to Swiss Mocean in the X-BIONIC headquarters here in Switzerland, Wollerau. You guys did a pretty impressive project a few weeks ago, or finished it a few weeks ago, which took you actually almost a month, or just over a month. You rowed across the Atlantic Ocean from La Gomera to the Caribbean. I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself just quickly, why you took up this challenge, or what made you take up this challenge. Yves, maybe you start.
Why? I was asked by Luca like 4 years ago, and it was just like it felt good to do that. and I just immediately said yes, I'll do that. So that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, actually I saw it in a magazine. That was like 4 years ago in a little cottage up in the mountains actually. And I don't know, I think I got hooked up with the idea. I was really impressed and fascinated by these guys rowing across the Atlantic, and I wanted to do it as well. And I luckily found 3 guys who wanted to come with me, who were like hooked up the same as I was. And yeah, now we're here 4 years later, and we rowed actually across the Atlantic.
For me, it was also Luca approached me and asked me whether I wanted to do it, and I got sick shortly after and watched a bunch of YouTube videos about the challenge, and I was hooked right away. So from that point on, I knew we had to do it.
Okay, cool, nice. So in the end, Luca, you are the main guy for the idea.
I mean, maybe I initiated the idea, but I mean, it would never have been possible without these guys and with the assurance that there are some other guys who are fascinated by the idea as well and really pushed to do it. I mean, I myself would have never went through it without Marlene being sick for 3 days and watching YouTube videos. Because it was like we together, we talked with each other. Actually, we went for lunch like once a week, and so every week we talked ourselves more into it, and at one point we said, you know what, okay, let's do this.
Was that still during your time at the military together, where you got to know each other, or was it afterwards?
There was no lunch in the military. Easy to talk. No, it was after. We met in the military, and then our universities are right next to each other, so we met together once a week to have lunch in the break, and then we became pretty good friends in the military and kept in touch ever since. And became even better friends now.
I assume so. Yeah, okay. So you've been the first Swiss team who ever crossed the Atlantic in a rowing boat. How does that feel? Steve, maybe you.
How does it feel? Great. But actually, I think it would have felt great anyways. It's just so amazing to have done that. And arriving in Antigua was if not the best feeling of my life, actually. So, yeah, it feels great.
Yes.
If with you, the only one having rowing as a background, the others more like outdoor sports, trekking, or even fighting a little bit.
Fighting?
Fitness rather. What did your parents, your family, your friends think about this, taking up this challenge?
For me, I think my mother played an important role in this, because I think she was one of the only one who supported me from the first second. We never asked what you really want to row across the Atlantic, and it's so much money you need and so much work for what, and but from my parents and especially from my mother, I always got a lot of support. She was like, yeah, let's do this, it's amazing, go on. And so she was pretty cool with it, and I think she was never afraid or something. She believed in us from the beginning.
Okay.
For my parents, I mean, they were very supportive as well.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom told me after we've done it that till the very end she was hoping that we wouldn't get the money together and that we wouldn't be able to go. But I never felt that way during the preparation, just to see how they always helped me out.
Okay, cool. Eddie, for you?
Yeah, my mother was pretty afraid actually, but she never told me not to do it or something like that. She was supportive, but I knew she was afraid. My father was cool, so but in the end, she got over it, and she was so happy to see us arrive in Antigua. So
did they all come to you?
Yeah,
I think everybody was happy to have a chance and a good holiday in Antigua.
But I think during the race, she suffered a lot.
Yeah. Well, I guess you too. You suffered as well a little bit from time to time.
Differently though.
This whole project was not just for fun. You did it for a good cause, for a good reason. You collected money which is going to orphanages in Romania. Martin, can you please tell us a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. So the idea was that we thought that we'd be able to get in the local media with like doing something like this, and we didn't want to have all the attention for ourselves. Or, I mean, we wanted to be able to do something good for other people. And for us, what was important that we knew where the money goes, and that there isn't like this big administrative like system behind it where all the money like ends up. And so, I mean, we all had very great childhoods. We were very lucky growing up, and we know that there's people in this world that have different kinds of childhoods and that maybe aren't, you know, it's not as easy for them as it is for us to follow our dreams and to like do something like this. So what we want to do with these kids in Romania, we want to support them and give them a chance to also kind of go and reach for the stars, so to speak. Yeah.
And why especially this project in Romania?
Mainly because, well, first of all, the people that run the projects are very sympathetic. So they, you really understand that it's not something they do for a business, but it's because they really want to help these kids, and it seems like they're in it with their whole heart. And also, we know a guy personally that kind of convinced us that it's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll actually share the link in the comments or in the video itself. The donations are still possible if you want to participate and do something for the good cause. As I said in the beginning, if you've been the only one with rowing as a background, so what special preparation did the other three guys do in terms of rowing, and also in terms of taking up this huge challenge, being on the ocean for a couple of days without any support and whatnot?
Yeah, for the rowing part, first they had to learn rowing, and then there we had like a special deal with the Sea Club Zurich, where they could, the other three guys could train for free. So we went out on the lake, and I teach them actually the technique how to row. And the other part is, yeah, there's a lot of stuff we had to learn for to survive that long out in the sea. One is the food. We had to manage to have all the food with us. We had to learn to sea navigate and make some stuff like that. This like sea survival. Yeah, we had some courses that we had to do, sea survival, navigation, and stuff like that. And then, yeah, a huge part was to have an idea how to manage this, how our rhythm would be, like the routine, and yeah, we had to figure that out. But a lot of stuff you learn out there.
Yeah,
it's impossible to learn on land.
I guess so. As far as I read, you wanted to have a rhythm of 2 hours rowing, 2 hours sleeping.
Yeah.
How did that work out in the end?
It worked. We went like that all the way through. Yeah, actually, like for one night we had the problem with our steering rudder, and we had to go on para anchor for one night. That was the only time we didn't do the shifts, like 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Actually, in the beginning we made like 2.5 hour rowing and 1.5 hour rest. So for the first 30 hours, and after that, yeah, we went through with it. It's not like you're not. You can manage to get used to it, but it doesn't feel good. So, but it's doable. So yeah. It worked.
So in the end, 2 of you guys rowed at the same time for 2.5 hours, and the other 2 slept, or rested at least.
Yes.
How hard was it to get some proper sleep in, if it's just 2 hours, and especially on the ocean?
Yeah, actually, for me, it was like there's a special twist, because like the first 3 days I didn't sleep, because we had like there are these pills you take for against seasickness, Stugaron, and we had like the normal ones and the ones with caffeine, and I took those, and I didn't think that I couldn't sleep because of that, but I didn't sleep for three days straight. So yeah, and then I stopped with the tablets and I could sleep. So, but afterwards it was like the main problem was the heat. So for me actually, because during the day it was that hot in the cabin that it's just you're in there and it's like a sauna, and so I could sleep like for 3 hours, not 3 hours, 3 shifts a day. I could really have some good sleep in the cabin. But that's my part. Luca could sleep every shift.
I was a bit more lucky on this side.
Luca, we talked about the preparations beforehand. How useful were them in the end? And should you have done something different looking back now?
I mean, the point is like the whole thing with ocean rowing is like it's getting more professional every year, but it's not like that there are some guys doing this every year and can tell you, look, I've done it with this technique, and this technique, and this is the best. It's more like you do it once and you can say, okay, this preparation more or less worked for me. And I think for us, from the physical perspective, I think we were pretty well prepared, and I would not change much. Maybe learn a bit more to row, how to row. Use a bit more time for the rowing technique, but that's just like for me personal. And the rest, it's more on like the technical side. It's on knowing the boat, and it's very little things like just maybe how to organize where you put the water container, some little things like this, or what kind of food you take with you. And where we had a total like delusional idea of that we only gonna eat functional food and we will not crave for chocolate and these sweet stuffs because we're like tough guys. And it turned out we're not. We cried for Snickers like little girls. Yeah, so that's like more these kind of things I would do different than really the training beforehand. But I mean, was no way of knowing how we would react and what we would crave, what would have helped us very much in the situation out there.
So, talking about the food already, did you have certain meals? What did you take with you, and what did you forget? As you already mentioned chocolate, for example.
Yes, we had actually there is a certain amount of calories you're obliged by the race organizers to take with you, and it's like food for 60 days. It's about 6,000 calories per person a day. And we planned to eat a little bit more in the beginning because we thought it would not take us 60 days. So we anticipated a little bit to be a bit faster. And then you make your day pack of food, and so that you have an idea of what you should eat, because it's not always, you cannot just eat when you're hungry. At least in the beginning, we really were trying to finish this package of food, and it was that we took. On one side there was these fry street meals where you can put water in it and then it turns out it's spaghetti bolognese or carbonara or Thai chicken. We had some different kind of flours. Not enough though. And on the other side we had a lot of shakes. We had a shake which is a full meal. Then we had protein shakes. We had isotonic stuff. We took about 50 kilograms of isotonic shakes, and it turned out, you have to, if you drink too much, you have to go to the toilet too often.
To the buckets.
To the bucket, yes. It's not really a toilet. And so actually we couldn't use that at all, because it's just if you have, there are not enough baby wipes, and it's getting dangerous if you use too much toilet paper and wipes, just because you drink this isotonic stuff. So we basically lived on these shakes and the freeze-dried meals and some nut bars. But to have chocolate on the boat, it would have been a really motivational boost. And for example, we had
especially
Eve's sister.
Yeah.
She our Christmas present from Eve's sister was one package of M&Ms, and it was
gone.
The best M&Ms I've ever had. It was gone within a few hours, and actually. Lawrence, the guy who unfortunately can't be here today, he has a peanut allergy.
Ooh.
So it was very bad for him. Lucky for us because he had more. It was that feeling bad for him maybe lasted about 10 seconds, and then it was, yes, I have more. Yeah.
Okay.
But next time, I mean, if I would do it again, I would take tons of chocolate and stuff, just because you like it. It's easy to eat, and you really like it.
Yeah, and especially the first days, because you just have to get used to the situation, and food is a huge part in just like
Feeling
to
normal.
feel good. And the first 5 days there was a huge craving for all the bad stuff like Snickers, M&Ms, and stuff like that. I think in the end we could manage pretty good.
It was
The
better.
last 10 days.
There was as well, we brought a bag of oranges.
Oh,
It
yeah.
lasted around a week or even 10 days. So like after 10 days we had this last orange. It was like the holy grail. We took it out and cut it in 4 pieces, and it was the best orange of my life by far.
So, did you eat in every break you took, or did you have certain breaks at the time of the day, special time of the day where you ate?
I mean, everybody did it differently. Maybe you have to ask the other guys, but in the end, 6,000 calories, and you have about 6 breaks. So, if you want to get it down, you better eat in every break. Yeah.
Okay. We have one question from Angel, who is watching us, and he's asking whether or why, when you cross the ocean in a rowing boat, you have single rowing instead of rowing with 2. Isn't that asymmetric? Is it helpful? Or?
Oh, we had 2.
You had 2?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, then you might have watched the wrong photo.
But there is, so it depends on the size of the boat, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are some boats that have 8 to 12, I think, people rowing, or that are crew, and those guys, they usually
I think the biggest boats are 6 rowing stations, but these are 8s for 8 people, though, I think. But I'm not quite sure. But yeah.
But
now
yeah, we
for-
rowed with 2 oars.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for this challenge you took up on, the Talisker Whiskey Challenge, there were boats from 1 person, single boats as well, up until 4 or even more?
4.
Until 4.
So one team of 1 person, a team of 2, and 4 people in 1 boat. Okay. You already said that you had to stop for 1 night and put the anchor. Have there been any difficult situations, other situations than that, and how did you feel about that situation as well?
Yeah, it was actually, I had to start with this story. It was like the 5th day in the morning. I was rowing with Lawrence, and there was like the wind was picking up. We had like a, how do I say, went up to 40 knots, I think, and the waves got bigger. And then it was the first time we got smashed by a wave. And the wave came overboard, and we fell from our seat and out of the shoes. And that was the first time I was a little bit scared of the sea, because it was the first time I could really have an idea how the forces or how strong the forces are out there. And yeah, was pretty much scared after that. And this was the moment where the steering rudder, we had a problem with the steering rudder. Actually, it's like, maybe Marlon, you can tell this story better.
Yeah, so without going too much into details, I think, because it's a long story. So what happened is that it wasn't very responsive afterwards. So the autopilot it worked, but it was just very slow. So whenever you got hit by a wave and it kind of took you off course, and it would take very long for it to get back onto course. And that's a bit of an annoyance, because when the waves start to hit you from the sides, then it's even more, or it feels more dangerous. So we switched to hand steering for a while, because then you can more aggressively try and steer the boat, and we did that for the whole day, I believe. And then starting with the night, we also did hand steering, but you can imagine it's pitch black. Like you don't see the blades of your oars. So what you can see is the flag. So we had this Antigua flag that we stared at for most of the crossing, just to have the goal in mind. And obviously the flag tells you which way the wind comes from, right? So we tried to keep the boat in the wind instead of with the waves, because we figured that's the next best thing we could do. And then me and Luca, Eve and Lauren started with the first night shift. Me and Luca did the second. And then when we did the second one, like this big wave came over the back cabin, and it just kind of water came from everywhere. At least that's what it felt like to me. Like water came from everywhere, and there was this big bang, and we didn't know what was going on. It turns out one of the oars broke during that, like when this wave crashed onto the boat, and also I think the steering rudder got even more messed up. So we decided to throw out the power anchor, which is kind of this big parachute that just keeps you in place, and spent the night on the power anchor. And then come morning, we talked to the race organization, we talked to the boat builders, so what are our options? Luckily, we had a spare rudder with us. So they all advised us not to go into the water and exchange the two or swap the rudders, because you could end up without having any rudder in, because if you take the old one out, can't get the new one back in. So anyway, we managed to somehow get the new one back in, and there were some complications with, like, it wouldn't fit right away and stuff like that, but I don't want to elaborate this too much. So eventually I think it took us around 18 hours in total where we couldn't row. So this was a bit of a, we were all pretty pissed about that, especially Eve, I think. But the problem is, at this point we were pretty well, like, we were up there with the leading teams, and obviously not being able to row for 18 hours threw us back quite a bit. So
especially looking at the final times, you've been 14 hours behind the winner in the end, in the third place. But was it your goal from the beginning to finish up front in the leading group?
It's a race, so
yeah.
I think everybody wants to win. We didn't know how our chances are, but we intended to go as fast as it was possible, and if it's possible, we wanted to win for sure.
Okay. So you felt a little bummed about
third
place, and especially taking this issue into consideration.
But what's good about this race is, like, you have a lot of time to get over stuff like that out there. So I had my days where I was really pissed off, because after the run breakage we had, like, the race was like, okay, now we're getting up in front and we're catching up, and it was good. But after a while we realized, even if we're fast and we catch up, but it won't be enough. So, and then I had my day where I was really pissed off that we couldn't win. But after that, it's good, and when you arrive there, it's amazing anyway.
Maybe also something to add, I think you pointed this out during the row even, is that when you experience stuff like this, so you have difficulties, and then obviously it's going to be harder on the team because you're frustrated, and so I think it was a good learning experience. Like, if you try to see the positive, maybe that's something that even, like, brought us more together as a team and kind of shaped us.
Especially as it was nobody's fault from you guys,
yeah.
Technical fault or whatever in the end. So how does it feel to be on the ocean with no land inside at all for a few days?
Amazing.
Weeks.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time we didn't see land at all was like quite a good feeling, and then you get kind of used to it. It's just incredible sunrises, sunset. In the night, like, the stars are incredible. It's like one big couple from left to right, from forward and backwards everywhere. It's amazing. It was definitely one of the highlights for me, or I think for all of us, like these sceneries where I will ever see sunsets and sunrises like this again.
Yeah. And it's such a simple life out there. You have all your problems you leave behind, and you're just out there in the moment. And I think it's pretty freeing feeling. So.
But aren't there any other problems or
whatever? It's like
there are
problems
sharks, there are
that
whales.
come up. They are, like, in the moment, and you have to find a solution. It's not like you have your agenda full with stuff, and you have to manage stuff. And here in the normal life, you always think about the future and what to do next week and next day and stuff like that. And this falls off out in the ocean. That's what I meant. And obviously you have your problems, and it's not always funny, because your legs hurt, your oars hurt like hell, and you're tired, and it's a harsh life, but a good one, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Did you meet any whales, sharks? Did you see any animals?
Yes, we did.
It's your part.
So It was interesting because I think within the first 4 or 6 hours into the row, a pod of dolphins started following us. So it was pretty cool. We were like, wow, is this going to be it now for the rest of so awesome. And then later that same day, whales appeared next to the boat, and we were like, wow, this is amazing. Like if this is going to continue like that, we're going to know all of the creatures of the sea by the end we get to Antigua. But then, so this was the time where we did the 2.5 hours rowing and then 1.5 hours break, which was, at least for me, was very taxing. So you gotta like hurry up to get even like a little bit of sleep in, because you gotta, take care of the personal hygiene, you gotta eat and stuff like that, and you're still a bit struggling with the seasickness. And then by day 2, I was pretty much like, I just wanted to sleep, it was my break. And then the 3 guys, they were rowing, and I just got into the cabin, laid down, finally done with the personal hygiene, so just getting ready to fall asleep. And then all of a sudden there's this like party almost on deck, and they're like, Martin, get out here, bring the camera. And I was pretending that I don't hear them, I'm like trying to sleep, get out here. Like they would bang the hatch door. There's dolphins again, and I'm like, fuck these dolphins, I don't care about them. And but eventually they made me get up and bring the GoPro out, and yeah. But I looked at the footage, it wasn't worth it at all.
Because you didn't put energy in it.
Yeah,
it was like
none, 0 effort. I admit.
Well, at least it was a try. You never know before.
True. Yeah.
So you mentioned it earlier that it was one of the biggest challenges, especially in the cabin, was the heat.
Yeah.
How did X-BIONIC help you guys in the end? Because we supported you with clothing, especially.
Yeah, actually, what was nice about the gear was like it doesn't feel wet, even if you're sweaty. It's like it still feels comfortable. And actually there were days during the night I always wore my Twice shirt, I think. And yeah, it was great because I felt comfy even if the cabin was wet and I was wet and but it felt good.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think as well the point is as well with when it rains. And like we had these periods where like we had rain like for consecutive days, so in the end everything is just wet in the cabin, and you don't have even like to bother put off your shirt and try to hang it somewhere because it will never dry. So and the nice thing with the X-BIONIC clothes was that you just keep it on, and even if it's wet, it kind of dries a little bit and it feels pretty comfortable. So I normally as well below the jacket I always wear the shirts. It helped a lot to keep you warm.
Okay. How did you guys get along during the journey? Were there any fights or miscommunication or whatever between the 4 of you?
From time to time, but actually we got along very good. And actually, like the last 4 days or something, it was Luca was phoning via sat phone with some media guy or girl, and then she asked if we had like big fights and if we still get along, and it was the first moment we really realized, we're getting along so well. We didn't realize that it was just like normal, and we felt good with each other. So I think it's a good sign if you don't have to think about this. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Arriving in the Caribbean, I assume, was quite emotional. And you guys have been happy to finally step on land again. What was the first thing you did?
Eat my mama.
Chocolate. Hugging, I think.
Hugging.
But then was like, got out of the way, I need this chocolate.
First the food, hugging, and then.
Okay.
And then we had a burger and pommes and the cold Coke.
Nice.
That's great.
You already said that you got a Christmas present from your sister, or for all of you. Did you celebrate Christmas in a certain way, or on New Year's Eve, apart from the M&Ms, or?
Only for the media. Yeah.
So there was a high five, and then we took pictures with our Santa Claus hats, and then
done with this shit.
I mean, we didn't even stop rowing for the pictures with the Santa Claus.
But how was it spending Christmas on the ocean without anybody else apart from you four?
Special.
to me it didn't feel like Christmas. Like it's just a year without Christmas,
Yeah.
basically, and without New Year's. Like it's just a day. Like I think we almost forgot about.
New Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's New Year's. Yeah, that's right. But it doesn't really matter because there's nothing special going on.
Okay. Has there been any item in terms of gear, clothing, whatever, which has been most useful, helpful in the end?
For me, it was the twice pants. Pretty much all the days when I had them ready and they were not like full of salt or something like that or wet, I wear them. They were great.
So you even washed clothing in between?
Yeah, in the end, I realized I could wash with salt water. We had like the soap that functions with salt water, and but only the last 10 days I started to wash them. And that was really good because like when the clothing is getting salty, there are these salt crystals, and it's not good for the skin. So and you have really to look after the skin on your horse. Actually, it's the part you have to care about the most. And yeah, it was good to wash the cloth from time to time. But unfortunately, I just did found out like the last 10 days. So.
And for you guys?
Same for me. So the twice pants, they were awesome.
Yeah.
So I, whenever I could, I wore the twice pants. Otherwise, I wore the effector pants. But both of them were great. I mean, I preferred the twice, but yeah, for the same reasons, pretty much because they're. I mean, one, they're comfy when they're wet, and they dry. I felt like they dry pretty quickly. Yeah.
And they're so smooth.
They're smooth and they look good too.
And in terms of technical items, was there anything specific which was...
The nail clipper.
The nail clipper, yes. So there's this story and it's true. So like in preparation, when people like asked us what we would bring as personal items, I would once I said, well, I'm gonna bring a nail clipper, and they all laughed at me. You don't need it. And I'm like, you do. Yes, you need, because you're out there for at least a month. And when we had the problem with the steering rudder, it turns out that we needed a file, but we didn't bring one. So the nail clipper had a small file on it for your nails, so we ended up using that. And it was actually pretty good.
Saved our
Yes.
asses.
During that night with a big problem, did you think about quitting?
No. I
Was there
just
any
pissed
other
off
day
that we couldn't
thinking
race.
about quitting because you just felt so down, or?
I think the thought never ever came up. Maybe the thought came up like, what the fuck am I doing here? What is this about? It's just like boring and uncomfortable and I'm tired, but never the thought to quit. It was just like, get over it and yeah.
Did you bring any other special items, luxury music or whatever along, or?
Yeah, actually, we bought quite a nice music box, waterproof, everything. We saw perfect. We put it on deck because you cannot have it's always a question of energy if you can listen to music. So it's good to have an external music box which you can charge if you have enough energy. So we brought this, and it was actually amazing to listen to music, growing. We had a great time for about 5 or 6 days, and then it broke. Not because there was water on it, but we left it on deck, and it banged on
the Parank night, I think.
Yeah, or the day after. Don't know exactly, but it hit the boat all the time because the boat was shaking a lot. So it broke, it cracked open, and then not even this box was waterproof anymore. And we ended up talking a lot.
It was nice as well.
It was nice as well. And you had your headphones when you were alone in the cabin. But from time to time when you really were had a low, we talked just instead of otherwise it was you can listen to some actually the most stupid songs were maybe quite the most helpful ones, so it doesn't suit the situation. It's more like Britney Spears or something like that, or some crazy party tunes. There was this one situation actually where I think he was really in a bad mood and it was hard, and me as well a little bit. And then Lawrence, he just took the cable, like sneaked it in the cabin, and from inside the cabin he just like played one stupid song after the other, and we were like out there having a great time in the end. It was one of our best shifts, I think.
So on your website, pretty much everybody of you said that you are striving for such challenges to get to know yourself better. And also Angel is asking again how this challenge changed you guys personally in the end. Well,
I think, so I think a couple of things changed. So one, what it really forces us, or at least forced me to do, was to try and live in the moment. Because in the end, when you're rowing, it's never unbearable. Like it's all, so it might hurt, it might be uncomfortable, you might be a little bit hungry, you might be a little bit, sleep deprived, but it's never, there's never a situation where I felt like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And the hardship only began when you started to think about how much longer you have to do this. So, okay, I gotta do this for how many more shifts? Like 180? Like, what? And then you're like, okay, no, maybe I really can't do 180 more shifts. But, if you stay in the moment and just focus on what you can do right now, I think that helps a lot. And I think that's also valuable for, any endeavor you do. So that's one thing I try and do now, is just focus on what I can do now, and not, of course you gotta have like the big picture in mind, but just try and do what you can best right now. And the other thing is, I feel like I'm a bit more calmer. Like I don't get nervous as easily. Like not that I was like super nervous all the time before, but it helps with, like, okay, I've rowed across an ocean. Like, okay, I missed an appointment, like stuff like this. I think it's smaller things. And actually one thing that I have to this day is that I really, really enjoy going to bed now, because it's not salty and it's not wet and it's very comfortable, and I can sleep for longer than 90 minutes.
I can imagine.
So that's great, yeah.
Okay. Luca, for you?
Yeah, I think the point with living in the moment is he explained it like quite perfectly, I think, from my perspective as well. I think as well, other is just like how you appreciate life again, or not again. I mean, I loved my life before as well, but I still love my life, and I would say I even loved the life out there. It's just from another perspective. It's amazing to live through these experiences, and that's, I think, in the end what I can take forever with me. That's was great. I'm really thankful I lived through these moments with these guys. It was amazing.
For you?
Yeah, pretty much everything said. Also, like the huge part, the living in the moment part. Like, everything, like the most of the suffering out there on the sea was like thinking about the whole challenge and the days you have to do this. And if you didn't do that, it was fine. You had your peace. And
sounds easy.
Yeah, sounds easy. It's not always. Yeah, but also like I feel a little bit stronger, I think, and the comfort, mentally, and the comfort zone is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Like even like when we took the flight back from New York, like we went over New York and then back to Zurich. It was like a 6-hour flight in these tiny seats, and I know I hate flying actually, but it was fine. It was like just 6 hours of sitting in this chair. It's okay. Stuff like this. Like it's just. It's easier, I think.
Comfort zone is bigger.
I think these small things that that bother you, like in everyday life, that aren't really a problem, but I think that's something that we all have, that we don't get bothered as easily anymore.
Yeah. Being out there on the ocean, what did you miss most about being on land, normally?
I mean, before I always said like friends and my family and the parents, my mother, but really honestly, I think was the food. I mean, you can be without your friends and family for a month, but to eat proper food, man, I missed.
Yeah. But for me also it was like stuff like just being able to walk around, stuff like that. I was really like imagining just like going out of the house and going to a tiny shop and and
Buy
some-
food,
buy
whatever you
food
want.
or something like that. Yeah, but just
Yes.
the freedom to just being able to move, because you're just like locked up in this little boat, and you crawl out of the cabin into the rowing position and back in the cabin, and that's pretty much all. Yeah.
Also, like having some space to do stuff, like because you eat and sleep and listen to music, and you do it all in the very same place. And if you want to get something done, you have to move something else out of the way because there's not enough room. And so this is also something that I really enjoy now. Just
And-
like have a clean desk, and then you put something there, you can work on it, and it's great.
Yes, and the bed. I mean, they have like clean sheets and nice cushion and stuff. Oh.
How long did it take you guys to not have wobbly legs anymore being on land? Still having this feeling of the waves, and how long did it take to go away?
A couple of days, I don't
Yeah.
know, 3, 4.
I think 4 days still was fully away.
Yeah.
But the point is also like, because as you've said, you're not like standing upright and you're not walking for over a month, so you kind of get used to being on land again. But of course you walk. I mean, not far. We didn't walk far. God no. We walked like to the hotel and back to the restaurant or something like this. But next day you turn up and having like these incredible muscle aches on your calves. So, I mean, like, you think you did like 12 hours of sport every day and you are in pretty good shape, but you can't like walk. And as well, like standing upright when we had like to listen to some like speak of a guy or whatever. I remember there was this like tree planting with all the rowers. And if you looked around, all the rowers, they were like standing like this and bending over the knees, looking for positions where they can sit, because it's just like it hurts your back to standing like more than half an hour upright, because you're not used to it anymore.
Yeah. And now being back on land, is there anything you miss about the time on the boat?
Surfing on the waves.
Spending time with these guys.
Yes.
Well, that possibility
Yes.
is obviously still given.
True.
Yeah, but
Maybe not 24 hours, 7 weeks a day, but
Yeah, for sure. I think so. One of the things I most appreciated out there was that no one could get a hold of you if you didn't want it, and so now, I mean, it's not that I'm like super busy or anything, but not at all actually. But still, like people can call you, and then they like give you stuff to do, and you get mail, and you have to finish your taxes and stuff like this. So you don't have to worry about all of that.
You just row.
Yeah.
And we had good times rowing there.
Oh, yeah.
It was like we had
Yeah.
great shifts and good talks, like for 2 hours straight. You didn't even like feel the time passing. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to go back in. Of course, there was as well the like shifts where you like after 10 minutes, oh fuck,
Only 10 minutes.
it feels like 2 hours already. But
you guys mentioned earlier that you used an autopilot for steering, apart from this 1-2 nights, and we had to change to manual steering. And you guys managed, or you chose a slightly different route than the majority of the other boats. You went a bit more south, I assume because of the streams. Was that a mutual decision, or was that just one of the teams of two from you rowing at that moment said, well, let's go this way?
No, I mean, you have to have, so this has to be a mutual decision, because if 2 guys go down and the other 2 guys go back up, down and up, I don't know how fast we would have been. But yeah, so none of us really know that much about like navigation and stuff, but if you look at the statistics, then usually it's in the south, there's the trade winds, and usually there's better streams. So we just decided that we'd go down there, and also we had an advisor, Lauren, who also, well, she went south on her row, so she was the girl that sold us the boat, and she helped us with the routing, and so she advised us to go down as well.
yeah, and I mean the idea is that there are better winds, and as well, if there is a low pressure system, normally because you're still in the North Atlantic, they come from the north a bit down and then go up, and the wind turns in the like counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go west, you have always headwinds, and you need to go on para anchor whenever like a low pressure system comes up and hits the fleet. So if you're the boat the farthest south, you are the last boat which gets caught by this headwind and which has to spend time on the para anchor, and the first boat which can row again. That was like as well an idea behind the southern route. So we really paid attention. We are like one of the, if not like the most southern boat. Not unfortunately, but there was no low pressure system this year, so it didn't work out quite well. But still, I think we didn't like lose anything by taking the most southerly route.
Yeah. Would you recommend this challenge or a similar challenge to others? And if so, what would you suggest for them in terms of preparation or whatever?
Well, I mean, if you think about doing something like this, I'd say absolutely go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, never give up for the preparation.
And don't be because like I think we're the best example because none of us knew how to row. Like, okay, 3 of us didn't know how to row. None of us had been in the open seas. We didn't know how to navigate. And like, it's just, okay, so we wanted to do it. So let's try and do this. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely in the aftermath, you would never like be disappointed or like feeling bad about your decision. It just feels great.
Like I think even if you don't make it, like I think there's 2 things. So with something like this, you can either fail with raising funds and like not having enough sponsors and stuff, and then obviously you can fail the crossing. But even if you fail the start, so if you fail to get enough money together, I think it's still a great experience. And you learn a lot of stuff. You learn kind of how the media works and kind of how all of the fundraising and sponsorship works. And then once you get to the row, you learn a lot about yourself. And I think like for the teams that didn't make it this year, I mean, it's got to be a like very hard blow. But if they can like view this in some positive way, then that's going to be very, very helpful for their lives. Like I'm definitely go ahead and do it.
So you, after this experience now, you would always take up a similar challenge again? Or do you have already something in mind?
Yeah, we would take up something again. We have some
so,
ideas, but nothing very that we're ready to share yet. I don't think so.
But I think we can say it won't be on the water.
Yeah, safe to say it won't be with salt water.
Maybe in some years, I don't know, but yeah.
Right.
First on land.
No rowing, no sailing, no beach holidays.
Yes.
Just go up in the mountains or
Or
at
something.
the hotel pool or something like this.
Hotel
Pool challenge.
Are you guys already back in normal life in terms of studies or work in your case?
Not yet. Actually, I have to start working again in April, and till now I intend to go to art school, so I had to make a portfolio and stuff like that. That's what I did the last 3 weeks. Yeah, but now I'm pretty much free until April. But I need to get some money actually.
For me, it started quite quickly after I arrived back. I need to finish my master's thesis before the end of April. So yeah, before the row, obviously I was pretty picked up with all the preparation. So now I need to spend some time back in the law library.
I was lucky enough to finish my master's thesis
The smart ones.
about 2 weeks before we left for Gomera, so I'm done with the studies now, and I'm looking around for possibilities. And,
Angel seems to be very interested in you guys, and he's asking whether you guys plan anything, not in terms of a challenge, but if you might maybe will publish a book about it or a training program for people who'd like to follow your steps and taking up such a challenge.
There will be there will be a movie
Mm-hmm.
from the Swiss National TV. We filmed quite a lot of our preparation and as well out there on the ocean. I think that's about it. But I hope it will be good. We didn't see a lot of the footage.
Do you have an idea already when it will be broadcasted? Roughly?
May, I think.
I think the end of May.
Okay. I'll trust you guys will share it on your Facebook page
Definitely,
and other
absolutely.
media pages, social media pages. So guys, check out Swiss Mocean. These 3 are 3/4 of the team, at least.
Yes.
And if there are any new news, they'll
Yeah,
share it with
definitely
you.
we will share about the movie.
Nice.
as
All
much
right.
as we can.
So thanks so much from our side.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure having you guys here as well.
And thanks again for the incredible support.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Well, if there is a
That's
new
all the
challenge
trust.
coming up, just get in touch with us again.
Will do. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Big pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.